Welcome to part 2 of the good old-fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Masonry while drinking a cocktail. Now, I will tell you this. It's early as we're filming, so there's coffee in it with a little bit of Jameson cold brew, so it's not our typical old-fashioned or scotch. So plug for Jameson homebrew. It's kind of nice in coffee. So if you guys have an alcohol problem that you're just trying to mash from your family or employer, that's what you do. So anyway, that's a fun tip for the day, boys and girls. So, Jeff, part 1, we focus on the Blue Lodge and your journey into the Grand Lodge. So we're going to start now. Shrine and shrine only. Who put you on as OG?
Roger Snellen.
Roger G. Snellen.
Yes, sir.
And that was in?
2000.
Roger Snellen is near and dear to all of our hearts. Yep. Rest in peace. Roger passed away in April of 2015. Mm-hmm. Jeff installed me as master. Roger was the installing chaplain and passed away in April. I think he knew he was going. But anyway, so Roger Snellen put you on. What do you got? What do you got, Russ? Welcome back to the podcast, yes. Russ. You're here.
Maybe I've been sipping coffee too much.
That's true.
When you were potentate, do you remember all of the appointed line and officers?
Oh yeah. So I had a great line. My journey to the shrine was much different than a lot of people. I became a Shriner in the spring of 1987. And Charlie Singheisen, who was a good friend of mine, Charlie asked me if I wanted to join the Scottish Rite, which I never had. I'd been in my Blue Lodge in Toronto and just working Grand Lodge and stuff. And so Charlie asked me to come do the Blue Lodge, come take Scottish Rite degrees over here in Wichita. So I agreed to do that. And over noon, lunch, sandwich and soup, how they always do it at the Scottish Rite?
Yep.
Well, I had a guy sitting across the table from me who I'd never met before. Met him once, never saw him again, no fault of his. We introduced ourselves, we were talking. He says, "What are you here for?" And I said, "I'm here to take Scottish Rite degrees." He says, "Aren't you going to become a Shriner?" And I said, "No, don't think so." He goes, "Why?" And I said, "I guess nobody ever asked me." And he goes, "I'll get a petition." So he goes, gets me a petition over lunch. I fill it out. I probably gave him a hot check because I didn't have any money. But I give him a check and away he goes. And I find out at the first break in the afternoon, I got elected to be a member of Midian Shrine. Now, the next part of this, you guys are going to find hard to believe. that when we do the Scottish Rite degrees all in the day, and it's a very busy, long day, they ran a little long. I know you find that hard to believe.
Yes.
So we were supposed to have an hour for the Shrine short form ceremonial. And as I remember, there were 6 or 8 of us. And it ran long, and the ceremonial director for Midian, who I believe was probably Hiram rank at the time, he walks in with a couple other guys, and he says, "Okay, gentlemen," he says, "all of you petition Midian for membership. Your petitions have been approved. Normally this takes about an hour, but there's a big important thing going on over at Midian across the street in 15 minutes. So in the next 10, you're all going to become Shriners." And so we did, in 10 minutes. I walked out of the Scottish Rite in Wichita, walked to the north parking lot, got my vehicle, and went home. Never even went to the shrine, never bought a fez, never owned a fez. So I paid my dues for 10 years, and nobody ever called me, contacted me, or anything about that. I was just a dues-paying Shriner.
Until you were a Grand Master, huh?
That's exactly right. And so what really impressed me about the shrine was when I was Grand Master, Brian, and it's been a tradition for years that the 5 shrine temples in Kansas help pay the way for the Grand Master to attend the Imperial Session if he wants to go. Mm-hmm. And it was in St. Louis, and even though all 5 shrine temples had helped get me there, it's the responsibility of the temple you belong to,
right,
that they babysit you while you're there.
Yep.
So kind of my first fez that I really had was when Gary Dunn showed up at my Grand Lodge session and presented me with a Midian Grand Master fez. I was totally impressed with that because I didn't even figure they knew who I was.
Yeah.
But then we get to the Grand Lodge, get to the Imperial Session, and Midian had to babysit me. And guess who they put in charge of that? Michael Kelly.
Michael J. Kelly.
He was my babysitter at the
From
Imperial Session.
episode 5, Michael J. Kelly.
Well, I just want to tell you, Mike and Gary Dunn and the entire Midian group did a fantastic job of helping Cheryl and I through the Imperial Session, including us in everything, making sure we knew where we were supposed to be and when, and because that was our first time at an Imperial Session. So I owed him a lot. And I got done being Grandmaster in March of 98 and thought, I'm done. I'll just go back to my lodge stuff. I got a call from Martin Sharp that fall. He was the chief for band. And the only reason I knew Martin was because I'd met him at the Imperial Session and a few things. He says, how would you like to be a part of the leadership team at Midian for next year? I said, so what are you talking about?
Yeah, what's this entail?
And he goes, I'd like for you to be the captain of the guard. And I said, what is a captain of the guard? Famous last words. Just one of those one and off things. You'll do it for 1 year and you'll be done.
Technically, however, we know how that works.
Well, in most cases, that kind of happens that way, and it might lead to something else. So anyway, I go home, talk to my wife, and I told her we owe this to Midian because of how well they took care of us. And so she says, okay. So I attended my first ever shrine meeting in the fall of 98 to see what a captain of the guard looked like, where he might sit.
So you're going to practice up, like
yeah,
it's something
I wanted to have my
there's a
ritual down.
like the Blue Lodge, right?
And I found out mainly what a captain of guard does is GI.
Yep.
Get
ice.
Get ice for the divan when they need it.
Yep.
So anyway, I came, Martin Sharp's captain of the guard, and we had a great time. And then in July of that year, we're at Kansas Shrine Bowl. And Roger Snellen, who's the chief for band and who I'd become very well acquainted with and really liked. And he says, we're at the hospitality room at Shrine Bowl. He goes, I need to see you out in the hallway now. And I thought, holy crud, I've really messed up somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know yet, but...
Yeah, so we go out the end of the hall, and I'm kind of sweating bullets because I'm thinking I'm in big trouble. And Roger says, I just want you to know that come election time this year, I'm going to nominate you to be the Oriental Guide. And I said, no, you're not. Because I've been around long enough now, 6 months, I knew what being an Oriental Guide meant.
Right.
I go, oh, no, you're not. He goes, oh, yeah. He said, you're going to be the Oriental Guide. And I said, well, first time I need to go talk to my wife, but I said that violates all the rules because the rule is I've heard that you have to have been on the divan one time, which I was, but you also had to be the head of a club or unit, and I'd never been the head of a club or unit. He goes, well, we're kind of thinking being head of the Grand Lodge was good enough.
Okay.
Instead of a club or unit, be the head of the Grand Lodge, that's going to qualify.
Okay.
I said, well, I need to go talk to my wife. So I talked to my wife, and she was overjoyed at that opportunity. No, my wife has always been one very supportive.
He's stealing the question again, but keep going, Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did Cheryl say about this?
Yeah, well...
Because, hold on, for folks that don't know, Toronto to Wichita is how many miles?
98 miles.
One way.
One way.
One way. So... not only did he do all of the stuff for the on the Grand Lodge line, now they're wanting him as Oriental Guide, and that's for those who don't know, Oriental Guide. That's the start of your line before your Potentate at Midian. Right. 98 miles there and back, and you're probably asked to be there sometimes 3 to 5 times a week.
Yep.
And if you don't have liaison duty.
That's right. And we was almost always there in 2 vehicles because I'd have to come early.
Yeah.
And then Cheryl would get off work and she'd come, and then I'd follow her through the Flint Hills home to make sure we both got home okay. But she said okay. And we'll talk a little bit about my wife before I'm done here because she's the ultimate Masonic and Shrine.
She is.
And so we did that and we had a great time. So in the meantime, I became reacquainted as I'm coming up the line, and especially as Potentate, with Jack Jones. Jack Jones was the Imperial Recorder for Shriners International and head of membership development. Mm-hmm. And I became acquainted with Jack the first time in the mid-90s when we both served, me from the Grand Lodge of Kansas and he from Shriners International, served on a think tank about membership that included representatives of about 26 Masonic lodges, Scottish Rite Northern Southern Jurisdiction, and Shriners International.
And he was from down south.
Tampa.
He's
Florida.
Okay.
And Jack was just one of the nicest guys ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we became immediate friends the first time we ever met each other. We sat together in these big think tank things we did. We'd go to dinner together and things. And so as I got to be Potentate, Jack called me one day. He says, I'd like to get you involved in some leadership classes down here at Tampa. You've been to them coming up the line. I want you now to teach those.
Okay.
And so he says, there's got a guy that wants to quit doing one of the classes, and I want you to come down and monitor that class, and then maybe you could take it over next year. So I went to Tampa, and I watched him give this presentation 6 times, made all sorts of notes. Get all done, Jack says, so you sat in the class? I said, yep, 6 times. Take notes? I said, oh my, I got a lot of notes. And he says, and you could teach this class? I go, absolutely. And he goes, and you will? I go, absolutely not. And he goes, what? I go, no, I can't teach that class. I said, that's Bill Sulson's class. He wrote the book on it. Literally did. So you want to be a potentate. He wrote the book. And I said, I just don't think I could do it justice. And Jack says, so what could you do? I said, well, I could do Grand Lodge relations. I could do membership. I could do divan planning. I could do working with volunteers, all this kind of stuff. He goes, go home, put together a few PowerPoints, and send them to me. I'd never done a PowerPoint in my life. Went home, figured out how to do that, sent them to Jack. Jack says, you're hired, obviously at no fee. And so that's how I got
Tell the
involved.
truth, your daughters helped you with the PowerPoint.
No, they did not. No.
That wasn't a knock.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Most daughters have helped.
Right.
Yeah. No, not mine. But anyway, that's how I got involved. And so I went to taught an Oriental Guide class, assistant band class, and membership class at Shrine for 4 or 5 years.
Nice.
After that. Yeah. So that was good.
All right. So Russ, since
He just keeps picking off, though.
I know.
So
Yeah.
you started these classes, and so you were very much a part of what was going on at the Imperial. So what were the discussions? How did getting on the Imperial line happen? How did that work?
Well, so immediately after serving as potentate at Midian,
Driving 98 miles one way for 3 to 5 times a week for 5 years. Tell me how you convinced Cheryl to do this.
well, it wasn't very good. So we're actually going to the Imperial Potentates Ball in February of 2005, right after we're out of office. As we all know, that's kind of the first Potentates Ball of the year. It's kind of traditional. And all of our counterparts from 2004, we were going to meet there and have one big last hurrah all together.
Okay.
So I was kind of intrigued by this Imperial line thing. And of course, we've been hanging around Imperial officers for a year or two now at these classes and stuff, and they'd started talking to us, Cheryl and I. And so as we're driving up there, I kind of posed a question to my wife about, hey, what do you think maybe we think about running for the Imperial line?
It's only 10 years. It's only a 10-year line.
Oh, yeah. And then plus you have to campaign for 2 years, and you're gone 36 weekends a month at your own expense from Wednesday to Sunday to try to gather enough votes to do all this.
So hold on. I want to back that up. There's not 36 weekends in a month, Jeff.
Oh, it's 36 weekends a year. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll take that away. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, matter of fact, mine still got as much in as I did when we started.
It's awful. It must be that same bitter stuff that I've got.
So she says, not only no, but heck no. We're not going to do that. And I said, okay, I'm good with that. So I continue to go to Tampa and do these classes. And every time you're there, and she was with me part of that time, then, they keep working on us. So about 2 years, 3 years later, we decided we'd have this discussion again. And at this point in time, she was kind of ready to go. And I wasn't ready at all. I had things going with my business. I really wanted to get rolling and stuff. And I just told no, I'm interested. Well, finally, in 2009, we're at the Oriental Guide. We're at the Oriental Guide Assistant Band Schools in March of 2009. And we went out to dinner one night, all the Imperial officers and a bunch of the...
You hadn't been elected yet.
Oh, no. Hadn't even running. Wasn't even running. And as we're coming up the escalator at the hotel, 2 Imperial officers says, hey, I want to see you outside by the pool. We need to talk. And so I told Cheryl, I said, go to the room. I said, I'll be in a little bit. Well, it was the same old thing. We need you to run for the Imperial line.
Right.
And so I get in the hotel, back to my room, and she said, what do they want? I said, same old thing. And she says, what'd you tell them? I said, I didn't tell them anything. But I said, you think about this, and we're going to talk about it tomorrow, because the next day was the last day of Oriental Guide and Assistant Band School, and the last day I taught, and we were coming home. So the next day, I finished my teaching duties at noon. I had a 4 o'clock flight out of Tampa to come back to Wichita. So we went and checked our luggage about 1 o'clock, and we went and had lunch. And I said, okay, this is the third and last time. Either we're going to do it or we're not. And I said, but it's all up to you. And she goes, well, I suppose that we probably could do this if we think so. We either got to take a stand and do it or not. So I say I'm okay with it. So I walked back down the hall and told the 2 Imperial officers, I said, we're in.
Good for you, Cheryl. I'm glad you did that, because that did a lot for us.
Yeah. So I come back home. I get to the airport, and all of a sudden I realize I'm not a voting representative. I can't run. I'm not a rep. And so I called Jody Fraser.
Oh, Jody.
And I talked to her a little bit. And so my next call was to Dave Byerly. Dave Byerly was our potentate in 2009. Good friend of mine. And I said, Dave, I've decided I'm going to run for Imperial Outer Guard. And I said, I need to be a rep. And he goes, well, it's about time. What do we need to do? So he told me, I told him what we need to do. Then my next call was to Michael Kelly, who was a recorder at the time.
Michael J.
And by the time I get off the plane at 10:30, 11 o'clock that night, my next phone call was to Terry Schrant, who was the high priest and prophet.
Right.
And I said, Terry, I need your rep position. And I said, we made a deal. That's irrelevant.
Yeah.
And Terry was all in.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Great guy.
And by the time I got off the airplane, I had been elected a rep. Terry resigned his representative's job. They elected me at the deal. And I'm off and running. Now, this is the middle of March.
Right.
And normally you campaign
a couple of years
to do this. 36 weekends a year to do that.
Yes.
Well, I was fortunate enough because I'd had almost every voting delegate in class once as a Oriental guide, some of them twice as a sister band, and some of them 3 times.
Yes, you had a lot of folks ready.
So they knew who I was.
Right.
Plus the fact I did something nobody else had ever done. I used constant contact.
Yep.
I had a technological friend at the time who helped me with that, and I started sending out constant contact information to all these guys.
Is that still a thing?
Not so much anymore.
Okay.
We do podcasts instead.
Oh, fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
And so I was fortunate enough. I got elected. First, after running 3.5 months, I got elected in San Antonio, Texas. And the really neat thing about this, and it was kind of semi-sweet, I guess, was the gentleman that was a deputy imperial potentate at the time, he passed away about 6 months before that. And so they needed someone to step in and fill that spot as imperial potentate. And Jack Jones, who was my good friend forever, been the imperial recorder forever, they asked him to step in and be the imperial potentate for 1 year. So when Jack was imperial potentate, I was a new guy. And that was a very special time. Yeah.
So let's take you back to Midian, the divan, the 5 positions, OG up. Bob Bear and Bart Ogden, we asked them which of the positions they hated the most and why. They both said, so thank OG on your way up. They said high priest and prophet. You know why they said that? The liaison report. They absolutely hated it.
That's funny. Yeah.
So would you?
Oh, I guess. Look,
you have to hate.
Yeah.
You have to pick one. You have to.
I suppose that would be it. I guess, but I enjoyed all my time at Midian because I was a part of great people. There.
That was a good generation.
I had Roger Snellen, I had Ron Capps, I had Michael Kelly. You know, I had people that were really good.
Right.
On the divan.
There were some players in there.
Yeah. And I learned a lot from them because
Rensner, 97, you just keep working your way through. So.
And I needed to learn from them because I'd never been active in the shrine.
Yeah.
And they were great mentors.
They fast-tracked you for sure.
So this is an unfair question, but I think you'll put some interesting spin and light on it. So what role did you like better? Grand Master or Imperial Potentate? And why?
Well, I don't
The abridged version, because we don't want to piss off anybody in the world.
No,
but
look, first off, I was 42 years old when I was Grand Master, and it was something that I had grown into for 20 years, so to speak, because I was fortunate enough that the Grand Lodge put me in positions of leadership responsibility, district deputy, area deputy, membership chairman.
They developed you.
3 times on and off as a 1-year Grand Lodge officer and stuff. Right. And so I kind of grew into that position, and I felt like I was totally prepared to be Grand Master, even though I was only 42 years old. And I loved it because I spent 276 nights at meetings during that 365 days. Now, I wasn't out in a hotel. I came home. Yeah. And living in Toronto, Kansas had its benefits for that. You're think about almost 2/3 of your membership is from I-135 east.
Yeah.
And I'm right in the middle of Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Topeka, Wichita,
that's
Manhattan.
a good point.
And so I could drive.
And be home.
Yeah, so I'd go to work every morning at
Okay.
noon. I'd leave. I'd go home, take a shower, get a coat and tie. By 2 or 3 o'clock, I'm on the road. And then I'd be at someplace at 5 o'clock, eat dinner, do my little speech and stuff, get in the car and drive home. It's great. I love being Grandmaster. It was fun.
All right. I like it.
Imperial Potentate's completely different. It's a worldwide leadership position. And,
Literally.
And plus the fact you are then the chief executive officer of Shriners Hospitals for Children that has $1 billion budget, as well as the fraternal side of having 200 shrine temples with the membership under that you're responsible for as well. You also grow into that position in 10 years as well. They're completely different.
It takes 10 years to get to that point.
It takes
That's
6, 7, 8 years. To be ready for that.
Yeah.
And by the time
running
you're
a
there,
major organization.
you kind of feel like. But the difference is you've got the fraternal side with both of them.
Fair.
As Imperial Potentate, you've got $1 billion 22 hospital system that you're the chief executive officer of.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it different.
Nice. All right. Russ and I are always in competition. So, Dad, you're gonna settle this. You have to pick Grand Master of Kansas and Imperial Potentate of the Galaxy, right? Mm-hmm. Where do you put Russ and where do you put me and why? Who's Grand Master and who's Imperial Potentate of the universe?
Where did you come up with this stuff?
Yeah, Russ.
I saw this question somewhere. It's kind of a fascinating. So
I'm going to put Russ as Grand Master. And I'm going to put him there because he was the best darn master Albert Pike ever had in 2004 when I was the potentate at Midian in 2004.
I've seen the photos.
And he did a tremendous job at Albert Pike during that year. And we was a great partnership team.
I was the best master ever in 2004.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like, wait a minute, where are we going?
And so let me just say this,
I'm stuck with 10 years of development?
We worked together. We worked together for membership.
Yes, we did.
We held one-day classes about 6 times that year.
Yeah.
We'd start them at 5:30 in the evening, and our goal to these guys, we told them we'd have them out by 11:30. And they did Blue Lodge, Scottish Rite, Blue Lodge and Shrine in the same night in 2004. Didn't have to go through Scottish Rite by that point in time.
Yeah, that switched. Yeah.
And we worked hand in hand. And my relationship with Russ became very special that year because everything we did, we talked to each other.
Yeah, it was a good time.
It was a good
in
time.
Masonry in Kansas.
Yeah. And I think it could be wrong, but I think I took in like 158 new nobles at Midian that year. And it was a good time. We took in a lot of real high quality people through the Blue Lodge and to the Shrine. And Pike took in 100 and something?
No, it 40-ish.
Oh, no, just more than that.
You guys will be looking up on the screen. Those numbers will be posted because I'll have that research by the time this posts. So just look there at the bottom. It's there.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, we both had good years. Midian and Albert Pike.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So then I would make you the Imperial Potentate.
Because I need development for 10 years.
I'm
underdeveloped. Underdeveloped, so I hear.
But you kind of fly around all over the place anyway, doing what you do and things. I ended up, by the time I was done being potentate, I was a 1,000,000-miler with Delta. And I flew with other airlines, but I'd actually had 1,000,000 air miles with Delta. And you're used to being in airports and doing things and traveling and stuff. And I would make you the Imperial Potentate because of that. You can handle the travel.
I like it.
Okay.
So, quick question. Do you just have to pick who do you think in a game of horse? We know this answer. A game of horse basketball between Russ and myself. Who wins?
Okay, so first thing, I would annihilate both of you because I was a very good basketball player in my day.
For the record, I'm a big gambler. I'll put $100 bill on a game of horse with Jeff. So anyway,
I'm picking Russ.
The lefty beat me.
Yeah,
I did.
He beat me, and I
drained them.
It was unbelievable. Don't gang up on me.
Yeah.
So, okay. I want to jump to Cheryl real fast. If we were allowed to make a lady a Mason, and we could only pick one in the world, I think I would be honored to sign a petition for Cheryl Sowder, because she is as much of a Mason as a Shriner. Probably has been more into more meetings than Masons and Shriners than anybody. Would you top line that petition for Cheryl if it was allowed?
My wife, as I said earlier, is the ultimate Masonic Shrine wife.
She is.
She's been there from day one. She didn't have to.
Yep.
Every step of the way.
Yep.
Though not was she just there. She made a significant difference in where we were. So she had the first fundraiser for a Grandmaster's wife in Kansas. We sold 911 cards. And we thought that it was a deal that it was laminated, it had magnets on it, you put them on your refrigerator, and I remember we're 25 years ago, right?
Right.
And
did they ever stick them on like payphones?
No, I didn't do that, but you could. But we thought maybe we'd sell a couple thousand of them. I think we ended up selling 20,000 of them.
Wow.
And that's because she got up, promoted them. And they cost us $1. We sold them for $3. And the money got split between the Masonic Home and the Kansas Masonic Foundation. So she did a great job.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
But she made a difference. Then at the Shrine level, and especially once we got to the Imperial Shrine level, my wife helped develop the Women's Leadership Shrine Program and spent hours writing the ladies' handbook. Literally, on a computer. And then she taught those classes. She started and helped teach those classes for the ladies that would come. That was a ladies' join of guide, ladies' assistant. Because remember, those ladies all the time, they don't know what they're getting into.
Right.
And
they're almost voluntold.
Yeah.
You're coming along with me.
Good point.
Right.
And in some temples, the ladies aren't even hardly active.
Right.
But that all changed as my wife taught them that they needed to be active. And then let's get to when she was the Imperial First Lady. And every Imperial First Lady has a fundraiser. And they all do well. But hers, she had spent 3 years developing a program that she wanted to roll out as Imperial First Lady. And she pretty much doubled what anyone else had ever done in her fundraising. And it's not a contest, but it's the fact that you're raising money to take care of the kids in the hospital.
Yeah.
And
she was always all in.
She was.
Yeah.
So she's done a tremendous job with that.
Yeah.
Very supportive. But people knew her just as well as they knew me, and that's the way it should have been.
I agree. So the other thing is Cheryl had a very successful insurance practice for years. So anybody that's successful in insurance, you have to be a grinder and a hustler. Fair, right?
Yeah.
And so Cheryl essentially brought her talents from that into, I think it was a great compliment between the two of you, because Jeff is the big personality in the room. Cheryl can hold her own, but she's kind of she's that smooth salesman. Jeff and I are similar. We're the in your face. What are you doing? Get it now. And Cheryl's just like, step aside, boys. This is how you do it. Yeah. But that's Cheryl. That's Lady Cheryl. So thank you. So this was part 2, but we always end with the most important question of the podcast. Be subscribing there, because this is going to be shocker. So, vacation destinations. You can go to a vacation in the mountains, wherever. On a beach, wherever. To Las Vegas, or on a cruise. Of those 4 vacation destinations, which one has to go forever? You can never go. You can't even see a postcard from there. What has to go and why?
This one is so easy. The cruise is out the door.
But weren't you doing an Imperial cruise?
And thank God it got canceled by COVID. I feel like a caged animal on a cruise.
You don't like cruises either.
No.
I love cruises.
I like the mountains. I love the beach. I love Vegas. We went to the National Finals Rodeo many years in Vegas. But a cruise and me, I don't like it.
You would have got rid of cruise too?
Beach or cruise, one of the two.
Really? Oh, mountains for me. I love the beach. I love to sit down and put my hand up and a cocktail comes down. Vegas, they do some gambling there. I do a little bit in my life, so I enjoy that a little bit. I had to answer the question the other day. What is the most that I lost in a single gambling thing? And we'll talk about that off. And sorry about that, hon. So, but thank you for watching the good old-fashioned Masonic podcast. I'd get rid of the mountains. And thank you, Jeff. And keep following us.
Cheers.
Cheers.